Welcome to The Peer Perspective, the podcast where we explore the many pathways to recovery. I'm your host, Kyle Van Blaricum, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us today. At The Peer Perspective, we're on a mission to shine light onto the journey of healing, resilience, and hope. Each episode, we bring you powerful stories of individuals who face substance use and mental health challenges head-on, along with insights from trained professionals and family members offering unwavering support. Whether you're on your own path to recovery or seeking to understand the struggles and triumphs of others, you're in the right place. This podcast is a safe space for inspiration, connection, and growth. Get ready for candid conversations, heartfelt stories, and valuable insights right here on The Peer Perspective. Today, we're honored to have Rachel Wold Berg on The Peer Perspective. She's not only a mother, a warrior, and a beacon of resilience, but also a survivor in every sense. Battling high-grade PTC and medullary cancer, a domestic abuse survivor, and navigating the aftermath of childhood trauma, Rachel's journey is a testament to unwavering strength. Add to that the complexities of dealing with codependency, and Rachel's story becomes a powerful narrative of triumph over adversity. Today, she graciously shares her insights, lessons, and remarkable strength that defines her. Without further ado, let's welcome Rachel to The Peer Perspective.
Yeah, I love getting to know people, and I hope people love getting to know a little bit about me. And I told Kyle that if like one person takes a positive message out of this, then I've done my part, and that's what I'm hoping.
That's what it's all about. That's what I'm trying to,
Yeah. I love this. So yeah, make sure you guys are following Kyle's podcast. I actually told him, I made a post on Facebook. I'm sure some of you saw it, but his first episode had a pastor on there, and he was talking about following signs, and it already has spoken to me. Like that was really cool. So yeah, I hope that something pops up for one of you guys.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, just to give you guys a backstory, Rachel is one of my wife's best friends. They grew up together. So tell me a little bit about growing up and how,
Yeah. Do you want me to start from the beginning?
Start from the beginning.
So I was born, I was the youngest of 4 children. My older 3 siblings have a different dad. I was born in South St. Paul. We lived in Cottage Grove. Like I said, since I had a different dad than my siblings, we'd go to our fathers, separately, but I'd go probably once a month. And my mom was a single mom at first, and going to my dad's house probably it wasn't a great time. It wasn't his doing. He had been in a relationship with a woman who was not a good woman by any means. She really hated me and really made me know it. And she had 2 older children.
What was her name? No, I'm just kidding.
Her date of birth. So she, so he was with her, and they would have a lot of fighting, and I was always the bearer of their fight. And her older kids, so they did they smoked weed and drank and smoked cigarettes and stuff, and they had me doing it because then if I did it, I couldn't tell. They were 8 years older than me.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, in their mind it did, but and so I lived 2 separate lives, I would say. At my mom's house, I was the baby. I was, the innocent little child. And on the other side, I was smoking Marbreds and drinking Windsor and smoking weed, and none of it was really I didn't enjoy any of it, but I wanted to make people happy. With my ex-stepmom, I guess we'll call her, they were never married, but with her hatred towards me, it led me to feel like I was doing something wrong. So I think that that's an important part of my story, because that has always carried through with me into relationships and whatnot. I remember they got into a fight so bad, and I was, again, I was the cunt, I was the bitch, all these things, and I was
horrible to say that to a small.
Yeah, I see my kids now, and I'm I couldn't even imagine. I would wring somebody's motherfucking throat if they ever,
Right.
But with that said, she'd say these things, and these things would happen. And I remember picking her flowers. Like I was at my mom's house and they were going to pick me up because that's what would happen, that those big fights would happen and we wouldn't discuss them. And she was coming to pick me up. And I remember being in the backyard picking daisies for her because I didn't want her to be mad at me, even though I didn't, now as an adult knowing I didn't do anything. But, and I use that, as an example, in a lot of my life, I remember picking daisies because I'm the one providing for somebody that fucked me over, Right. And so I did that, and I didn't tell my mom. My mom had no idea. She asked me all the time, like, why didn't you tell me? You always wanted to go. Well, I didn't want my dad to be mad at me. I didn't want him to not be able to see him. So I thought I was protecting and doing that, but it still is a thing with me. Because of my siblings not experiencing it, it definitely put a divide in our relationship because they didn't know all of me, because they didn't have a great childhood by any means on their dad's side, but they experienced that together, and it was something that I did individually that I am honestly still working through.
You were kind of going through it yourself.
Yeah.
In some ways.
And like I said, I didn't tell anybody that it was going on because I didn't want to not go. So I got good at keeping the bad in the dark, keeping the bad a secret.
Yeah.
And then
that kind of continued through the rest of
yeah.
life.
I mean, even now I still struggle with it, but then I got into a relationship at 14 it was a very, very toxic relationship, a lot of domestic abuse, drug use, substance abuse. And then, when you have somebody that you're constantly fighting with and cheating on you and doing that, what's the best thing to do? Add 4 children to the mix. So, I had some kids, and then you really feel stuck, because you don't want, I know for me, I always wanted my kids to have that home life, that mom and dad coming home from school, mom and dad are there. So I just didn't want to fail them by getting away from it. But then it comes a point where you're failing them by staying in it.
Right.
So, we kind of did that,
So your oldest is how old?
She's 16. She'll be 17 here shortly. And
how old were you when you had her?
I was 17 when I got pregnant. So I got pregnant at 17, had her at 18. And then when she was just 5 months old, I had her sister. So,
got it.
Yeah, while all my friends were out partying and living that life, I was living the mom life. And I always made the joke, like, you guys laugh now, but when I'm in my 30s, I'll be partying. And now I started over, I have a 1-year-old now. So joke's on me. And by the time that he's moving out, I'll have lots of grandkids to take care of him. But it keeps me grounded. So, yeah. But that relationship wasn't great and by any means. And then I left it, jumped right into another horribly toxic relationship.
What made you leave that relationship?
Well, like I said, I got cheated on. I don't know how many times which Kyle and I talked yesterday, and I didn't want the podcast to only be about the negative. So I went into a much more detailed, ins and outs of it. But the message that I wanted and I still want from that is people who stay in those relationships, they're not stupid I don't think I'm stupid by any means.
Right.
They're not desperate. It's not like it's the combination of you look at what I came from and then what I jumped into was right away. You don't think that you're worthy of love, it felt uncomfortable. Even now I have a hard time taking compliments, so it felt uncomfortable. It just reaffirmed going into that relationship. It just reaffirmed what I had heard as a child. And so you become comfortable in the chaos, normal relationships felt weird for me, or calm felt weird, but that's what's so wild now is where I'm at right now. And now that I experience calm, don't fuck with my peace. Right. But it took a lot to get there. But I finally left the relationship. I don't even I think I would say drugs were the tipping point. I was used to being cheated on and used to that. But a lot of his behavior I could I guess dismiss because of alcohol or whatever. But then methamphetamine got involved on his side. I just didn't want my kid, I just didn't want to risk my kid's safety at any point. And I offered him to go to treatment. He said his exact words were, "Why? So that you can fuck other guys while I'm gone." And so he didn't want that. And you can't force somebody to get help,
Right.
Right. So I left that, and then I was just a complete single mom. He was on the run as a felon, and for over a year, and then he was in jail, and he's, been in and out of jail for since then, basically, which was like, I think 2016 was when we divorced. But I jumped right into another toxic relationship. Thankfully, because I had spent 8 or 9 years in one, I knew the signs a lot sooner, and I got out of it a lot faster.
You were able to get out of that pretty
Yeah,
quickly.
I mean, it was still 2 years of my life. It's, the first year was pretty honeymoon stage-ish, and then it wasn't, and a lot of drinking involved, but I just knew, like, I didn't, I couldn't make excuses for him anymore. So I knew that I needed to be single and work on me for a while, and for my kids' sake, if not for mine, because I had such a hard time, like, and I still have a hard time saying, like, I deserve good, I deserve happy.
Right.
So, but I knew my children did, like, the love of your children, like, there's nothing more than that. So.
Right. So let's go back a little bit. You obviously grew up with my wife. She's shared a few, I would say, funny stories about you and a couple of your friends. Do you have anything?
I don't, not that okay. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of actually falls into that, though, is that our friendship, has been, hers and I's has been so chaotic, honestly. I mean, this is the calmest our life has been now that she's in recovery. I'm in a version of recovery, but there was, I mean, I ran away a lot, and I'd run away with her. A lot of the stuff, I don't know if it's PG enough. I mean, I know Kyle doesn't filter it, but I don't know if she'll kill me or not. So, but we were inseparable. She lived with me for a good chunk of life.
Yeah, what happened? She got, like, grounded and then moved back?
Yeah. She got grounded. She had some consequences. Like, fuck that, I'm out of here. But I locked her outside, butt naked on the deck, and I took her towel. God, I don't even know. We were just telling you. I shouldn't even share that one. Jeez. We were wild, and we were fun, and we still are wild and fun. We're just old, wild and fun now, but it was her and I and another, I don't want to, say her name. Yeah. But we were the trio. It was the three of us a lot. I mean, all the time. But even with that, like, with our other friend, she got into meth at the age of like 13. Her mom was doing it with her. So that kind of goes into like picking my relationships, and I would still want to go over to her house, just even though I didn't touch it. It just was that. But
so that kind of started, that hate for that.
Oh yeah. Like watching that unfold, and I was actually the one who spoke up. Finally, I told my mom, like, she's, this girl's doing it, and then my mom was like, "Oh my God," and I was like, "But with her mom," and that's so. We kind of separated a little bit then. My mom didn't want me hanging out, which for obvious reasons, and then we came back together. And but yeah, your wife and I are like, I mean, nobody knows me. I don't think anybody knows me better. I mean, obviously not as recent in the last couple of years, but nobody knows me better than her. We literally did everything and anything together. And I wouldn't trade that time together for anything. Her dad, your wife's dad, called us. What did he call? I don't even remember, but we got caught smoking cigs outside. And he used to sing, 3 trailer park girls got caught smoking outside. We were smoking cigs and being wild. And, but even with them, they did they all smoked weed and stuff. And I just I think it was my child. Yeah, I think because when I was young and forced to do it, I remember getting greened out like way too high and having a panic attack like at 8 years old, and them all laughing because they knew what was going on. I didn't, so I thought I was dying, but I couldn't tell anybody, so because I didn't want to be in trouble for it. Right. So then I just was like, I never want to experience. Well, actually, I take that back. That is a good one. Anna had a birthday party, and everybody was there. It was like, I think it was like her 6th or 7th grade birthday party. Probably like 6th because we were young. No, 7th. It was 7th. Okay. So we're all there, and I had a huge crush on your wife's brother at the time, and he smoked weed. So he came over and he's like, who wants to smoke? And I was like, oh, I will, thinking I'm going to be like, oh, he's going to fall in love with me then. So we get super high, and he leaves me, and I walk out of our friend's bedroom into like where the, birthday party is happening. And I realized I am fucking zooted. I am gone. So I panic, start like, give me a bag. Couldn't breathe. I didn't feel real. You know, I was depersonal. What is it called? Derealization. Where you like feel like you're out of body. And I was freaking out. I'm like, call 911, and they wouldn't. So I got butt ass naked in their hallway in front of everybody. And I'm like, I need a cold shower to sober me up. So in front of like, I don't know, 10 girls from my school, I got butt ass naked. And yeah. And I remember my friend whose mom like was laid back, and she called her and she's like, it's going to pass. It's going to pass. Thank God it did.
Yeah.
But that experience again just kept me,
dramatic.
yeah. But that experience again kept me away from it, you know? So like I
Right.
said, I've seen your wife naked more than I've seen myself, probably, and vice versa. So,
So by the time 25, you'd been in a series of toxic relationships.
well, no, I just had been. I was still with my ex. I think I think I was 27 when I left. So I had just been in. That was like the other thing is, you know, you're still developing at 14, 15 years old, and I got into the relationship at that age, and so I left him when I was pregnant with Eliana, so I was 26 when I left that. But yeah,
So you were in that relationship for 8 years? Is that
yeah,
what you
8 or
said?
9 years, yeah. So that's again like just kind of like part of your development years, and but now knowing what I know now about myself, I wouldn't have changed it, because I feel bad. I honestly feel bad for people who haven't been through heavy shit, because how do you have coping skills? How do you have anything if you haven't experienced it? So eventually something in their life is going to happen, and they're going to be starting from scratch. At least like I'm 34 and I'm starting to figure it out. I don't want to be 60 and be figuring it out, you know?
Right.
So-
What would you say was like the beginning of that transformation for you?
Honestly, this year,
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about what's going on with you
okay.
now.
So, right now I have 2 very rare types of cancers. They originally thought it was just going to be regular thyroid cancer, and they'd take out my thyroid and maybe do a little, it's called radioactive iodine, a low dose radioactive iodine, and I'd move up about my day. But my surgery was in July to remove my thyroid, and they removed 56 lymph nodes, and 18 of them were cancerous. And then they found out it was called high grade PTC and then medullary. High grade just means that it is thyroid cancer, but it's aggressive, it moves fast, and it doesn't respond as well to treatment. And it's really new. So it had previously been classed as what's called poorly differentiated, meaning it reacts poorly. But they found a small difference between high grade and poorly. And the difference is that high grade has a worse prognosis on it. So they didn't start classing it until 2022. So like they don't know a lot about it. Medullary, I is usually it's an endocrine. It's still part of your thyroid, but it's an endocrine cancer. And that's a really rare. It's like less than 1% of people, 1 to 2%, I think. But something in there. Both these cancers are 1 and 2% of thyroid cancers.
Can you talk a little bit about the moment or the period of time leading up to when you got diagnosed?
And that is what led me into what where I'm at now. So I had I said I took a break, was single for a while, and then I kind of wanted to figure out life, and I was single for maybe 2 years, and then I got with Dylan, and we got pregnant right away. So I had to, like, we weren't excited at all. I honestly, we had abortion on the table, and I was like, I literally can't justify it. That's just my own choice for myself. And like, I can't go to bed at night and be peaceful with that decision, because I have a stable job. I have stable housing. So thankfully, because I love him more than life, you know, now, like I'm excited about him now.
He's pretty cute.
Yeah.
So.
But it was a horrible pregnancy. I had gestational diabetes. I had preeclampsia, which is like insanely high blood pressure. I got COVID twice while I was pregnant. Had to be induced 5 weeks early. I had preterm labor. That had to be stopped. It was an awful time. And while I was pregnant, I was like, well, you know, I wanted things to kind of settle down in my life, but I was like, when I get this pregnancy is done and I can get back to life, I can get back to living it. And I had him, and my blood pressure still didn't stabilize for a while. So we were in the hospital for that. He needed a surgery. So he had that surgery. And then I had a gallbladder, and like my first ever surgery was my gallbladder. That came out, and then I was like, all right, okay, that's enough. We're gonna be normal. But I wasn't coping, so I was feeling like shit all the time. My body hurt all the time. I was crying a lot. Like I wasn't eating but gaining weight. It was weird, and I knew something was going. I knew something at my core was wrong. But every time I go to the doctor, they're like, you have depression. It's postpartum depression. So they had me on like so many fucking drugs. They had me on a shit ton of like I don't like the max dose of 2 different antidepressants. They had me on a narcotic anxiety med, and then I still wasn't feeling better. So I was drinking like a shit ton. Like every night that was what I was looking forward to, was coming home and drinking, because it was the only time I didn't feel like absolute shit. But then, the next day you feel like shit, or the actions you make when you drink, you feel like shit, or
Right.
just like missing
Right.
missing out on moments, you feel like shit, or so I thought I just kind of needed a reset for our family, because I was like, well, just you feel crazy because all the doctors are telling you just depression. So which I do struggle with depression, anxiety, so it was overall kind of believable. But I'm like, I've never had my body hurt this bad. I've never had like my heart would race, because your thyroid controls all of your hormones. So if that's fucked up, you're fucked up. So I decided that we were taking, it was my daughter's golden birthday, and I'm like, they've never been on an airplane, let's just all go. So I took them all to South Padre, and we were there. Instead of like feeling free or better, I felt 10 times worse. My neck swelled up on the left side, like so much it was protruding out of the bottom of my chin. I was coughing a lot. I was in so much pain, and I was like, okay, I'm going to the ER when we get home. Like something's goofy. And we flew home, and I went to the doctor, and then they said that there was a mass in my neck, and they're like, well, it needs to be biopsied, but they didn't know what it was. They didn't even mention. They said a 4 centimeter mass, but then they said unrelated thyroid nodule, and then the nodule, like people have them, but only 5% of the people that have them have cancer in them. So they just said unrelated, because they didn't think it was anything to do with it. At this point, I was literally at my breaking point. I had texted my boss. I had a job that I really loved, and I had texted him before I went on vacation, and I said, when I get back, I need 2 weeks. I was going to commit myself to a psych ward. I was going to go inpatient, because I was like, I'm like, the only time I feel okay is if I'm like basically not present, because I was drinking, and so I texted him and his wife that like, I need to commit myself. Something's fucking wrong. And then I had honestly thought that it was like unresolved trauma, because like, I'm like, right now I should be so happy. Like I have a really good paying job. I'm, like all these things are going well in my life, and I'm mentally the worst I've ever felt. And, so I just was like desperate to like start healing. I'm like, it must just be unresolved trauma and sadness, like coming up, which ironically it kind of is. The medullary cancer is, it's an endocrine cancer. So it's kind of caused, if it's not, there's a genetic mutation that can cause it. And if that's not the case, then it can be caused by just overactive, like adrenal glands, which is adrenaline and stress. So anyways, I got back, had that biopsied, and they told me it was cancer. But like I had said, thyroid cancer is super treatable. So I thought it was.
How did you feel when you got that news?
Numb. Like everybody around me, like my family was crying, and they were worried. And I was just numb to it. Like even now still.
Do you feel like you were like protecting them?
Yeah, I was maybe protecting them, or just kind of, honestly, I think that because our last year had been so many eventful health issues, like between my son and I have a daughter who has health issues too. Between all that, I think I was just another thing to the plate. Like, it wasn't until I got my pathology report back from my first surgery, and they had told me that it was those 2 types of cancers, and I started reading and whatnot, that it actually felt like, oh fuck, this is real. Because I had thought that I was gonna I thought the diagnosis and the surgery after that I would be like, all right, I feel good, but I did, I still don't.
So here you're kind of rebounding from a series of horrible relationships. You just had your son. You had a lot of complications with that pregnancy. You're feeling out of sorts. You get diagnosed with 2 types of cancer.
Yep.
And for a lot of people, that would be a reason to
fall more into I say that I say that because I remind myself of that. I don't ever we were talking yesterday. I had said he had asked like one of the things that that made me leave. And my sister had said it, shout out Carrie. She had said, you can't be, I would call her every time my ex would cheat on me, and I call her crying and whatever. And, after you hear that so many times, it's like, dude, what's going to happen. Like so she said something like, you can't be a victim in a situation that you're allowing. Like, you're allowing this to happen. You can't keep being the victim. I can't keep coddling you through something that you are putting yourself in. And granted, I didn't cheat on myself, and I didn't give myself cancer, but I don't want to have a victim mentality through it. So I can decide this is every excuse. I'm jobless. I'm broker than I've ever been in my life. I'm going through all these scary things that are increasing my anxiety. I feel like shit all the time. This is the time where I could, without probably, not much guilt, go the other way. And
right.
and
a lot of people would. A lot of people would use that as a reason to.
Yeah, and I just don't. With my everything with my cancer has been rare, and I love the rarity of life, and I want to be rare and be strong and use this time instead of using it to do something like that where I'm not gonna gain anything from it. I'm using it to be grateful for the fact that this is God, the universe, whatever you believe in, saying, hey, like, you've been through a shit ton of things, and now's the time to step back, and here's your time to heal. Here's your time to take care of you. Nobody's going to be requesting a lot of me right now. I hear this actually all the time. Like, nobody, like, be easy on yourself. Nobody wants anything from you right now. But I want for me to use this as a time to make the most of each day, but also like tomorrow I'm going with my friend, we're going to like a spirituality workshop, and so I want to use this time to find what moves me there. Like I'm looking into like what moves me religiously. Spending this time, like, my oldest is 16, so and we have two kids that we took in. They're 15, or should be 15 next week, and a 17-year-old, and the 17-year-old will be 18 in February, and like getting to know her, bonding with her, or him, and then my 15-year-old getting to know her. I think that this is like a great way to, like, hey, everything needs to slow down and pause. Like, take a breath, worry about what needs to be done today, and next week's shit can worry till next week. Because I've always been a person that's like, give me more, I can take more, I can handle more. Like, I want all this, and I think that goes back to I'm not comfortable in calm. I was comfortable in chaos.
Yep.
And now it's like, okay, apparently I can't handle that much chaos. Like, my body's telling me, my brain's telling me, take a step back.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a big part of like healing, is just taking a step back and focusing day to day. I have horrible anxiety still. But finding things that work instead of a temporary fix, like finding something that's going to be long term.
So tell me more about like what you're doing. I mean, right?
Yeah. So like, it's just like for what I'm doing to like.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned like you're going to a spiritual workshop. Mm-hmm. It sounds like you've kind of even recently started to explore your spirituality.
Yeah. So that part has always been, I've always wished that I could be. I see these people are like, God spoke to me, or like God put it on my heart, and I've never experienced that. I've never had those moments. I've never, and maybe I have, and I just wasn't listening. I don't know, but I don't feel like I have. So, and I wish I did. I really wish I did. I wish that I could. I have nothing against it. I was telling Dylan a long time ago, like, I asked him if he'd go to church with me. And I'm like, it's not even the fact of like, when I go to church, that I just want to feel something, like it's just a positive message. And so now I'm like, and when you faced with an illness that can take you out, I remind myself, like, this is the one thing I tell myself with my anxiety is like, I could, yes, I have cancer and that could take me, but also I could be driving my car and that could take, you could die before me. So it's not so like, oh, I'm at the end of my life, I need to find my spiritual, just guide or whatever, I have to get closer with God. It's just mainly because I know that it would help calm some of my worries. It would help, bring that down. So I've been like, I read, a lot. I'm working on writing, just finding things that help me feel good about how I've spent my day. Like I the saying is something like, do your best today, and your best night might be less than what it is tomorrow or what it was yesterday, but like your best version of yourself today. And I use that. I am like, I made it a promise to myself that every night we're going to have family dinner. So we have family dinner now. Before it was just more about like, as long as they're fed, I don't care. But I take the time to sit down with the kids, and my one daughter loves making videos. So we've been making videos of dinner. And just those things that I never really felt like I had time for, even though I think you have time for what you make time for now.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I never thought like that before. I just thought like, it's just about getting it done. And how, I think that comes in with having ADHD though. But is just taking the time to do things and investing in the moments with my kids, and being more overall healthy, taking care of myself, because even if God forbid they're like, you're going to die from this or whatever, I still want those moments to be like, for me to be present, and for me to feel fucking good about myself when I lay my head down at night.
Yeah.
And I think that I owe it to myself for little Rachel and for teenage Rachel and all of those things where I felt like I wasn't deserving of a nice home. I wasn't deserving of a stress-free day or whatever it may be. Like I do deserve that. My kids deserve that version of me. I had said, I was telling Kyle before, my kids, I've always parented with guilt first, and it's just, I hate it. I didn't really realize how bad I did it until recently, but I'd always parented with guilt first. So I felt bad because I was a young mom. Then I felt bad because my kid's dad wasn't present, or if he was, or if we're fighting. I felt bad because then I got into a toxic relationship. Then I felt bad because I was a single mom and I was working a lot. I felt bad because, I just had a baby or I always felt guilty. And so removing that, like not allowing that to be there, has been a huge game changer. Like I don't parent with guilt first. And that's the first time in 16 years that I haven't done that. And it's the first time that I can say I'm a damn good mom and not be like, but also like, I'm a good mom, but like, I wish that like,
I'm a good mom,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm a good,
Now it's like, I'm a good mom.
Period.
That's it. Yeah. And a good mom to me is a mom that's trying, and a mom that's present, and a mom that's, and it might not be perfect. I'm not, there's always improvement, but there's not guilt there. There is, I guess, I'm not going to use the word guilt, but I do wonder, like my oldest is 16. I had her at 18, and her sister at 19, whatever, that they're getting a totally different experience than like Atlas is, or like our, Eliana, my younger ones, they're getting a totally different mom. And, but then I remind myself, like, they might get a more Pinteresty type mom, I guess, for lack of better words.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my older, like there's also a bond there that they won't have, because I didn't, I guess it's early in their childhood, but yes, as of now, as of going right now, my older ones, like those experiences, yes, they probably added to their therapy bill, but like,
Right.
there's still really good experiences there. And I think that's an important.
Well, recovery is not a linear journey,
No.
and we learn as we go. And I just have to say that, you're pretty amazing.
Thanks, Kyle.
And
You're pretty awesome too.
This just you being so vulnerable, with me, I just really appreciate it. And I know that you're gonna help a lot of people.
That is like a big added to my list. So I'm like asking myself, what do I want to do when I'm able to work again, and when I'm not feeling like crap all the time? Like, it's definitely something that's what makes me feel good. And it's I think that my experiences in life have led me to have this amount of empathy to, so I will say, I wanted to say, like, when the moments when I thought I was healing, and I was like away from relationships, or even if I was in a relationship, the moments I thought I was healing was because, oh, I'm free. Like, I was going out, I was doing things that I wasn't allowed to do in a relationship. Like, just out, there's certain bars I wasn't allowed to go to because they dance there and I don't want you to dance. Like, you know what I mean? So I was getting those experiences. So I thought that I was like healing myself. And I guess I did heal parts of me that like didn't get experiences, but I also learned quick that I had a lot of anger that I needed, and because I'm not a person to upset. I'm a people pleaser. I won't upset. I don't try to upset anybody. I also am a person though that will. I don't like lying. I'll tell it how it is, even if it makes somebody else look bad or myself look bad. Whatever. If you ask me something, I'm going to tell you my honest truth.
Right.
But I also don't like upsetting people. So that's where like I realized if I was going to drink or if I was going to do anything, I have to check if I was going to, like go out, I have to check myself, because if I didn't, you're hearing every fucking thing every truth that I've been holding in. So I thought that I was, healing that, and I wasn't, now I'm doing like a different version of that. But with this said, I want to bring people joy, and I want people to have a better day, and I want my kids to get that part of me, like where they want people to have a better day by their presence. I don't want to ever be a reason for anybody's like sadness or, anger anymore. There was a time in my life that I did, like I was like, fuck you world, you owe me, like at this,
Right.
and that now that's a gross thought to me.
Well, what would you say for people who, are dealing with some of the health issues that you're going through right now? I mean, what would you say?
Well, with as far as like my cancer and those things, like take it day by day, like 100%. Don't think like I have surgery on the 30th, and me in the beginning of this cancer journey would have been like, I would have made like a chain ring where you take off the loop every day. Like
Right.
I would have been like, that's all my focus would have been on. And now I'm like, even though it's the 30th, it seems so, I'm like, that's so far away. We're not worrying about that. It's worrying about what you're doing today and how you are today. Being easy on yourself. Like, yes, I make promises to myself that I want to into my, like, I want to make dinner every night, but dinner every night doesn't have to be like, a big thing. It can, just sitting down and making those moments, like, letting yourself, like, so I don't sleep right now. That's the thing. One of the things I'm struggling with a lot is I don't fall asleep till like 4 a.m. And then I beat myself up because I will sleep. Like one of my kids that's a adoptee, he doesn't go to school anymore. So he's home. So he gets up with the Atlas in the morning. And then I beat myself up at first about that. I'm like, oh, I'm missing his breakfast. And now I'm like, oh, I wonder if he knows I'm awake. Like, allowing
Right.
yourself and giving yourself grace through those moments. As far as what I'm going through on like the mental health side of it, do your research. And I guess that goes all of it, but do your research, because I truly think that I was the worst version of myself when I was on, not that I'm pro medicine. So I want to make that clear, but make sure it works for you. I was the worst version of myself when I was on all those meds, and I didn't notice it. I thought like people like that were close to me were just like not understanding or not feeling it. But don't just because your doctor says something, don't just go along with it. I knew something was wrong with me more than what they were saying. I knew that to my core, and that was another part that actually angered and frustrated me.
So what I'm hearing is advocate for yourself.
Advocate for yourself. And then as far as your like anxiety goes, I know it's so much easier said than done, but a lot of your anxieties, they say depression is caused by focusing on the past, and anxiety is caused by focusing on the future, even if the future is like 5 minutes from now. Like I have health related anxiety, which is ironic. Like,
Right. I was going to say, I mean, just the anticipation leading up to these procedures.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle with anxiety myself.
Yeah.
And I mean, that would be terrible.
Oh yeah. I told my doctor, I'm like because I'm terrified of doctors too. Like I don't like when I have a panic attack if they take my blood pressure. So we still to this day don't know what my blood pressure is, because at the moment the cuff's on, it spikes. So, and I'm sure that comes from having preeclampsia. I was pregnant, but, I was telling her getting cancer is like, for me, the same way somebody who's terrified of flying is like, and they have to fly once a week in order to save their life. They'd have to go on a plane once a week. Like they say, face your fears. And so I'm doing that with like certain things, but my fear is death, and I'm still figuring that out. But my big fear is death. How the fuck do you face that without,
Yeah, it's
dying?
like some sort of like sick
Yeah,
exposure therapy,
yeah,
really.
yeah. So, doing that, but just, focusing on the now, and also like, I know people say, it's life, don't take it that seriously. But like none of it, I used to get anxiety in this thought. Now I get comfort in this thought. None of it matters. At the end of the day, we all leave the same way. None of it matters. If none of it does. Like if you piss somebody off, they're either going to come back in your life or they're not. If you can't pay your bill this week, what's going to happen? What's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to shut your lights off? Well, candlelight dinners. Like, don't fucking dwell so hard on the tiny little things that seem so big, but there's so much more. There's so much more out there like that, and none of it matters. You're going to figure it out. As long as your heart's beating, you're going to figure it out. And that's the honest to God truth. I've lived, this crazy life as far as like these weird events that have happened. And I've spent so much time like focusing on the what if. Well, what if happens? Like, so, then it happens and then you deal with that. So that would be my thing is not focusing so much on what could happen, because if it happens, it happens, and then you deal with it as it comes, and it's not that serious,
Right. Well, those are some words of wisdom. Rachel, any final thoughts for you?
No, I want to, anybody who's listening, thanks for letting me yap. I just hope that, like, if anything that you take from this is just to, like, be a little kinder in your day. Just be kind to yourself and be kind to others. And I know that's stupid, but it is really that simple.
Well, I want to take a moment to plug you, as our viewers are probably understand at this point, Rachel's unable to work because of, dealing with some of these health issues. So if you want to contribute in any way, shape, or form, she has a GoFundMe set up. And how do people go about doing that?
I think that maybe I'll just share the link to you, and then
so we can put the link in the video or whatever.
And then I have a Venmo. It is RAE as in Elizabeth Ray Cardin, CARDIN. And then my Cash App is the same. I just want to say, like, it took me a long time to get to where I am. Like, I'm super. It's gross to have. That's a gross feeling to have to rely on others. But at the same time, like, if it wasn't for amazing people that have contributed and I had a benefit, that I would not be at all mentally and physically where I'm at right now, and I wouldn't have this added because I would have to add so much more to my plate. So I just want to really I appreciate anything and any help I've gotten so much.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, and I'm so grateful you were willing and to share your story with me.
2 days in a row, I got Kyle in my bed.
2 days. I think we're going on like 6 hours of audio. So
yeah.
This is, but you know what? This is great, and I just know that you're going to help a lot of people. So
I hope so. That's my wish. So
I can't thank you enough.
Thanks, Kyle. We did it.
Thank you for joining us on this inspiring journey of strength and recovery. If you found this episode meaningful, please consider subscribing to The Pure Perspective to stay updated on our upcoming episodes. Your support means the world to us, and by sharing these stories, you're helping to spread hope and resilience to those who may need it most. Remember, you're not alone on your journey, and together we can make a difference. Subscribe now, and let's keep moving forward one story at a time.